Hello. In today's video, I'd like to talk about a pretty important component in vehicles. It's a part that doesn't really get interacted with that much and as such can get kind of forgotten. But especially in modern vehicles, Nissan's Infinitis for example, you might be in trouble already and you don't really know, and you would only know once you find yourself in an emergency. The part I'm talking about is going to be lug nuts. These 5 components that hold your wheel onto your hub. So let's use this 2009 Infiniti FX50 as a demo, and the video, I don't know how long it's going to be. It's going to be as long as it needs to be for me to make the point I'm trying to make here. I'm trying to make sure that you guys don't get caught with your pants down. That's the whole point of this video, okay? So work with me. This right here is the official tool that Infiniti gives you as your lug wrench to remove your lug nuts. So I'm going to go ahead and attempt to remove them, and we'll talk about my successes and failures. I'm going to skip this one here and go, I usually do a skip one. Okay, this one works. Nice. Let's loosen that. Okay, that works pretty well. Good. Skip one. Come to this one here. Okay, it's not getting on that well, but there's a weird dent. Look at that. Yeah, I'm not confident using this tool here. Let's try this one here. It's not even going on at all. Not at all. Then this one here. Barely getting on. Okay, we'll work on that. So what they don't tell you is that this is a 21 millimeter tool. And sometimes, because of the awkwardness of this thing, it works well for roadside emergencies, right? But if you're doing any level of garage work, sometimes you might need a dedicated socket for it. So this right here is 21 millimeter as well, and it's made for this job specifically. It's got a plastic sleeve to protect your wheels, and it's a thin wall 21 millimeter socket. So this is what I'm going to use to get in there in conjunction with a ratchet. It's a breaker ratchet. So let's try this here. This one went on pretty easily. This was the first one, so I'm going to go ahead and remove this. Could use a power tool on the way out if you wanted to. So yeah, I love this. This is a great, oh, okay, this is a good one, right? Let's set this down. Set it here. Next one was this one here, was a little funky to get to. Let me remove the sleeve just for demonstration purposes. Okay, see, this one has a little better contact, so I'm going to go ahead and use this. There's an interesting, it works, it's there, but, oh, there you go, that works. So this is like our first lesson. First lesson is that it seems that aftermarket or non-factory provided tools have a little more play as to how well they can interact with the lug nuts. So look at this. Let me get a little closer so you can see how much engagement I was getting. This much. Not that much, but you know, enough to just hold on there and make a move. Compare that with the OEM one, with the factory one. OEM is original equipment manufacturer. I'll keep referring to that. Barely goes on there. It's really tight, right? I've got yet another one. There are levels to this. This one right here. Now this is how, this is how you know that you're a roadside emergency champion. The crossbar usually works pretty well. And this one does have a 21 millimeter as well. And it's actually a 13/16 standard. And let's put the same socket on there. See how far it goes. See, it sinks in just a little more. Just a little more. So this would have been even better with it. But, just wanted to talk about it and to let you know that depending on the tool that you have, your roadside event might be quite a spectacle. Well, granted, these days people don't really do that anymore because, use your can of Fix-A-Flat and get moving, or just call AAA and wait and let them tow you. But for people that enjoy the labors, this is how something to just talk about. Okay, I'll set this one down as well. were able to get it to work. I'm gonna go for this one, try to see how this one works. But before I do that, let me reinstall the first one because the first one was good. Just gonna go ahead and do that. No power tools on the way in specifically. I don't want to strip anything. Don't want to do this too hard. If you're not calibrated for 89 foot-pounds, just use a torque wrench. But this is, you know, for all the how cumbersome this one is to use when trying to loosen something, on the way in, it's just the right length for an average man to, you know, to tighten it without breaking anything. So, but still, torque wrench is the best way to do this. So let me go for this one. Works. I just did not want to have only 2 lug nuts on there. Let me go for the third one, this one right here. Use my 21mm side. Even the biggest socket or the biggest tool does not seem to be able to get in there. How about this one? Those are really, no engagement at all. So what do you do in a situation like this? You pretty much do what we've been doing with everything else. We started with a really nice and tight 21, went to a slightly looser 21, and then a very, very loose 21, right? So what you do is you just upsize, and I'll explain why that works. You upsize and you go for a 22mm right here. I know this one is also 22, but I'm guessing this one is a little tighter than this one. Tight does matter. Well, we'll talk about that in a bit. Okay, go for it. See that? That did not work very well. Is this a 20? Don't tell me. Yeah, this is a 22. Did not work very well. Okay, we tried, right? How about here? See, here it works. But did you see that? I'm going to put this down just so that I can show you a demo with this one here. Okay, let's go for this 22. Watch the way, just watch the wheel motion and watch this tool, okay? Do you see that? That looseness right there? That it is going to catch. I have no doubt that it's going to work, but it's just taking a little, that play right there. This one doesn't have the play. Oh, it does. It does. There it is. That, like, it's a few degrees of no engagement at all, and then it engages. Okay, out it goes. So I guess one thing we're learning is that crossbars are probably the best. So this is what happens. Okay, let me show you. Do you see the way this looks over here? It looks all shattered compared to this one here. I've already put the perfect one away, but just look at this one here. You can see that this one is not exactly hexagonal. It's got a little more character to it, and this part right here looks like it's going to cut you. Looks like it's going to cut you. So let me explain what's happening. These lug nuts, at some point, maybe the 2000s is when manufacturers decided to do this, but they make what we call two-piece lug nuts. And here, this is what I'm going to mark this one here because this one is also one that is damaged, that is basically requires a larger tool. And when you do that a few times, it basically stops working. So to attempt to explain what happens is that, see this, I've marked with an X, and as I said, this one is going to get marked as well. I took the liberty of cutting one of these up, and this is what you get when you open this, okay? This is the tool side, pull up. This is what you have. Manufacturers went for this chrome cap, and so you have a capped, people call this a two-piece. Yes, I know you do have the washer as well, but generally whenever people say two-piece, they're referring to this cap right here. And the actual lug nut inside requires a 20mm. So you've got this gap between the 20 and the 21 that this holds on to. And when these are brand new, as long as you're using the right tool, they're going to work just fine. The engagement is good, but then over time, see that play that I was talking about where there was movement but zero engagement? This amount of play. Yeah, so whenever things get loose, it's basically this hexagon is not seated square on the other hexagon. So there's a little bit of play there. And then what happens is that due to various reasons, because you're not using the OEM tool, it's a little cumbersome to use. You keep using larger and larger tools, and sometimes you just get the wrong tool altogether. If you use standard tools for metric lug nut, you might put yourself in a position where you end up rounding this off. And I've seen some so bad that you can get the 22 on the outside and just basically spin this all the way around once you've rounded it properly. As I said, I do suspect that this one here was going to suffer that fate, depending on what I was going to use. You know, just look at the angles. At some point, you know, at the corners, at some point you're going to have so many contact points that it's pretty much round for all intents and purposes. So that's what usually happens. This is an older, well, it's, if I were to go and buy for new lug nuts for my Infiniti FX50, I would get the same exact lug nuts. And this is a part number right here, 40224JK00A. Okay, so, and oh, here, they're brand new, so let's go ahead and show you what it looks like inside. Exact same, right? Exact same thing. And you can see here that it has a little bit of a cap going on. However, there is an updated one. See this one right here? This is the updated part number. For, you know, newer models, 2014, 2015 and up, 4022448H0A. And the way this one looks like, again, this one is also brand new, so let's go ahead and show you what it looks like. Look at that. They look similar. The washer is pretty similar. The cap is the only difference here. And unfortunately, it's kind of hard to tell them apart. They sound the same. One way you can usually tell is just looking inside. Can you tell the difference? This is the capped one, right? Versus the solid one. I can tell the difference, you know. If you see a little bit of rust, you know this is all real deal. They sound the same from both sides. Of course, when new they do. I wonder if they sound different when old. Nope, all the same, all the same. So it's kind of hard to tell them apart, but I feel like over time when you look at them and you can see this one is shinier, the one that's all metal, it does give you, you know, it's a sort of indicator. And as I said, when I tried to buy them, I had entered my VIN number, and the system was telling me, no, you cannot buy that. That does not fit your car. And, you know, I said, no, don't worry about it. Just give me the lug nuts. I know they do work. It's just that, you know, they follow the system, and I don't blame them for that. So, what are the prices? This one right here, if I were to buy a single one of these, varies from $6 to $8, depending on where you buy them from. This one here, $3, $4, $5. Depending on where you buy them from. So this is a better lug nut, and I haven't explained why yet, but you don't have the chrome cap, but you have a solid piece. And the solid piece is kind of how this older lug nuts were. No one ever stripped the heads on these lug nuts unless you use like the wrong tool completely, you know, but it's all steel. And some of these are really old, like from my 2006, yeah, 2006 M45. So I think it's a better design all in all. So I just wanted to mention that if you did feel like buying OEM, you do have that option. However, well, I guess I'm taking it out again. In part of, you know, gathering data and doing experiments, I did run across this that I bought from eBay sometime, maybe last year. And I think for the whole box of 20, it cost me like $15 or $16. Significant difference in price, and some in quality as well. So this one here, I mean, I'm sure the washer doesn't really mean much, but when you have a steel lug nut onto an aluminum wheel, I think somebody paid attention to, you know, your, I guess your sacrificial element here a little better. This one here is interesting, but I'm sure it works. I'm sure it works. The thread for Nissans is 12 by 1.25 metric, so I can find the link, and if I do see the link, I'm going to go ahead and post it. So that's one option. In case you're thinking you could use this option here, it will not work for you because lug nuts usually follow the wheel. The wheel design decides or determines what kind of lug nut you'll use. Yeah, they do look similar here, but at the end of the day, this is a mag style, flat washer style lug nut. This is a conical lug nut, or conical mount, you know, contact lug nut, also called an acorn lug nut. So don't use the wrong lug nut. You're going to end up damaging your wheels and you'll be wobbling all over, and it's just not going to be a good day for you. So those of you who are keen-eyed might have noticed that there's one that I skipped over. This one right here. And I'm going to address it in just a little bit. Let me put these other ones back on first. If I can... Oh, see, now I don't want to put this one. Well, I will put it. It's fine. It's fine. We'll do it. Okay, and this one here did work with it. Yeah, it did work with the 21. I'll come back later and redo this and use a torque wrench and get it all. For now, it's just more of a demo. Okay, that is nice and tight on there. So this one right here, you might have noticed it has an interesting pattern on it. Let me turn off the flashlight. It's kind of messed up right now. So it's got an interesting pattern on it. And for this one, you need a key. And the way the key works is that, so first, if you try to use your regular tool over here, it's not going to engage at all. You need a key, okay? And so the key, once I remove it, I'll show you exactly what it does. Again, OEM tools, they'll never give you anything. Wow, that took a lot. They'll never give you anything from the factory that factory tools cannot remove, cannot work on. So it does. The key is a standard 21mm key. Okay, perfect. So this is what you have. And what I was trying to demonstrate earlier is that if you were to use your standard lug wrench, it would not engage at all. Instead, you have this pattern over here, and you use this male over here, engage them, and then you use that to lock it in. If you're curious about whether this other design has it, yes, they do. Nissan does have it, and this is what it looks like right here. So I have the matching keys. The bottom does look different, but it is exactly, it's an acorn as well. It's just that the shank looks quite odd, but then the shanks are very similar, right? Except for the pattern. The patterns are rather unique. And so this one locks in, and then this is the other style that locks in. And the whole point of this is that if someone was going to steal your wheels, yes, you might not stop them, but you might make life just a little harder for them. Personally, the reason I have my locks, well, it's interesting that the FX50 still has it. I just haven't had a chance to remove them yet. But I've had bad experiences with this design, and I decided to get rid of them. One is that for a previous car, I think it was my M45, I still have the locks and the whole set. But what happened is that, and I'll do this demo this way, I think someone had bolted something on, and maybe this is the one that's rusted. Someone had bolted it on so tight, when I went to use the key to remove it, it see this part inside? You see the flower, the clover, or whatever you want to call it? Yeah, on this one, it just sheared off. It broke off. So it's basically, it feels like it's going to engage, but it doesn't have enough energy to, or enough contact to move it. So this was one of the reasons I decided not to make this work, or to get rid of this system. And I'll show you exactly what I went to. And the other thing that happened to me is this one here. Again, the older style, the Acorn style, is that a different car, I think an M45. The reason I have only 3 of these, and I don't know what the lock is that I think one of these was, again, so tightly bolted down that when I went to use the key itself survived, but it shattered the other locking lug. So I was like, well, I suppose time to get away from that. So I went back to just standard lug nuts. So you might be curious, how did I get rid of it? How did I make it work? So you've seen what we've done there. By, if it was refusing to engage, we just went to incrementally larger tools. On the removal side, and I'm not telling you anything that a serious wheel thief doesn't know, you go for incrementally smaller sizes. So this is 21 millimeter, right? And it does not engage at all, right? But if you went for 20 millimeters, see, there's a little bit of engagement, and you hammer it on, or you could use whatever's in between 20 and 21 on the standard socket sizes, hammer it on, and basically you can still go ahead and remove it. So I felt like the security wasn't all that, I knew it's just a deterrent, but I felt like it could be done even better. So what I went for was something totally different. These are Gorilla style lugs, and I bought a set of, I think 24 for like maybe $50. And the design is pretty much, the principle is the same, that you want a pattern that's going to be harder to use with standard tools. So this tool is not going to do anything here. But if you use a key, if I find the engagement point, boom, you can use your standard tools to go ahead and remove it. So I think the video is pretty long enough at this point. I don't want to dwell too much on it. I will put the part numbers in the video description to share with you guys. But the whole point of this was to let you know that, hey, go check out your lug nuts. Make sure they're not stuck on. Address them in your garage, in your driveway, while you have the liberty and the time to do it. You don't want to get caught pants down on the side of the road, right? And while we're at it, I've shown you the part number for this, right? The new part number. I've bought so many different lug nuts. Do you think I bought only one for demonstration? No, I bought a whole set of 20. I think I got them. There was like a Black Friday deal going on, so I think I got them for like $3 or something like that. It wasn't too bad, but still. Obviously, I could get them cheaper, but we're going for quality. We're going for different things. I will share all these part numbers with you. But again, this is commitment. This is, dedication to educating everybody and sharing what I know about the wheels, making sure. The whole point of my channel when I started was to make sure that you guys can keep your vehicles on the road safely and at low enough cost. I hope I'm succeeding in that goal. Okay, all the best. We'll talk more about this. I didn't know I was going to talk for almost 30 minutes on lug nuts, but it needed to be said.